This urban legend involves a young girl who's home alone while her parents are at a party. It's commonly known as the killer's reflection, and this legend popped up around the year 2000. There are several variations to this legend and pretty much all urban legends, but one of the versions goes like this. One snowy night, a preteen or teen girl is home alone, and the parents are usually at some type of party or they're working late. In some variations, the girl in the story is excited about being able to stay home alone for the very first time. She's finally an adult. We'll call our girl Julie. Okay, so Julie finishes her homework and she hits up the pantry and she finds some snacks. She throws a bag of popcorn in the microwave, she heats up some hot chocolate, and she gets a nice warm comfy blanket. She's now ready to relax and watch a scary movie in the living room. Their television is in front of a glass door that leads to the backyard. They also have one of those houses with a lot of windows and very few curtains. That alone is enough to creep me out. She dozes off, and when she wakes up, she realizes that her parents still aren't home yet, and she's feeling a little creeped out. She's thinking maybe it's just because of the scary movie that I just watched. But a few seconds later, she gets her answer when from the corner of her eye, she notices something moving in the backyard. It takes her a few seconds to figure out what she's looking at because it's dark and she's just waking up. Is it an animal? Is it a person? What is it? Once she realizes what it is, she freaks out and then she pulls her blanket over her head and then she grabs the cordless phone that's sitting beside her on the couch. She calls the police and in a few minutes they're at her house and she tells them about the creepy man that was standing outside and how he was staring at her through the window. It had snowed several inches that day, so the police went to look for footprints. They were puzzled because they couldn't find any. It had stopped snowing hours ago, so the footprints should still be there. What the heck was going on? So the police go back inside, and as they're talking, she notices how similar their reflection is to the stranger's, but she didn't immediately understand what she was seeing. Fortunately, the police quickly noticed the wet footprints that lead up to the couch where the girl was still sitting. The police would look at each other and they whisper something, and after hesitating for a few seconds, they tell her that you were extremely lucky. And she's like, why? What do you mean? And they say because the man wasn't outside at all. He was in here. He was standing right behind the couch. What you saw in the window was his reflection from inside the house. Spooky, huh? This is the second version. You have a 15-year-old girl who's babysitting her little sister while her parents are out at a party. And her little sister goes off to bed around 9:30 and she stays up to watch her favorite TV show. It's a cold, dark, windy night and she's getting comfy on the couch with a blanket and she's also listening to her Walkman. And after her show goes off, she turns around and looks outside and watches the pretty snowfall. After a few minutes, she notices a mean and scraggly looking man and he's holding a meat cleaver. Terrified, she immediately pulls the cover over her head, and after about 10 minutes, she gets some courage and then she removes the covers. He's gone, but she feels it's best if she calls 911. That's the mature thing to do. The police arrive and they open the glass sliding door and they take a look around. After a few moments, they come back and tell her that there couldn't have been anyone standing out there because there aren't any footprints in the snow. They check all around the yard for footprints, but there were none to be found. And the police tell her that she's probably just sleepy and that she let her imagination run wild and she wasn't usually at home without her parents, so maybe she just was a little freaked out. But as the officers are about to leave, one of them stops and looks behind the couch that the girl was sitting on. His jaw drops and he turns pale. He calls his partner over and the girl jumps up because she wants to know what they're looking at. She almost faints because what she sees behind the couch was wet footprints and a meat cleaver. She hadn't seen the man outside the door. She had seen his reflection because he was standing directly behind her. In the variations of this legend, the danger that the girl had been hiding from was closer than she or the police even realized. The last urban legend is called Coat Check. Now this one takes place on a cold winter day and it involves a young couple that's having a christening party for their new baby. As the guests start to arrive and they're welcomed by their hosts, they all toss their coats onto a bed that is near the living room. And as you know, just like when you go to visit someone, if you start seeing people put a coat on the bed, you start to assume that that's where they go. So that's what the guests started to do. After a while, all of the guests had arrived and they're enjoying talking to each other and laughing and enjoying hors d'oeuvres. And then the parents are like, it's time for you to see our baby. I mean, the party is for the baby after all. So the mother goes to get him and immediately the guests hear a gut-wrenching scream. She realizes that her baby has been accidentally smothered under the pile of coats, and it's assumed that the first person just didn't know that the child was even there, and the others just followed suit. They saw one coat and they put theirs on top. Sadly, the sweet precious baby was literally smothered at his own party. That is a messed up legend. Unfortunately, something similar has actually happened, and I'm going to tell you about it. On the night of October 30th, and this is in 2011, a mother left her baby alone and she stepped outside to smoke a cigarette. Her husband and their daughter were out of town. A neighbor invites her to join him and some friends for drinks in his apartment. This is kind of like a little Halloween celebration. So the mother goes back home to get her baby, and then she returns to the neighbor's apartment where they continue to drink for a few more hours. During this time, the baby was in a bedroom in his car seat in this neighbor's apartment. Okay, let's fast forward a few hours. She wakes up at about 6 a.m. and she calls 911 to report that she can't find her baby. Before they get there, she supposedly finds his body unresponsive in a pile of clothes. So the officers arrive at the scene and they find the baby dead on the bed. Prosecutors said that she returned home at about 4 o'clock that morning, but she was too drunk to make sure that her baby was safe and sound. So the baby ends up face down, smothered in a pile of clothes. And it's not clear if the baby was dropped on the pile of clothes when the mother returned home, or if the baby was kicked off the bed. So she returns home at 4. Her blood alcohol level was 0.23, which is nearly 3 times the legal limit for driving, prosecutors said. She pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter, and she was sentenced to 1 year in jail over the objections of the prosecutor, who argued for a state prison term. 1 year in jail. That is ridiculous. The Deputy District Attorney Susan Price said if a babysitter had engaged in the same conduct and killed this very same infant, there would be no question as to the appropriate sentence. The babysitter will likely be sentenced to state prison. This defendant was given a break today because the victim was her own child. That's the video today. Please let me know if you liked it. Please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you like videos like this. See you in the next one.